Welcome to In My Opinion 4, VIII, Lacrimosa of Dana. We join our red-haired hero on his journey to his next adventure with his pal, Dogi, working as crewmates on the passenger ship, the Lombardia. Everything is a-okay until tentacles from a great sea beast attacks and wrecks the ship. Adol is then washed up on the shore of the mysterious Isle of Siren. Adol finds many other castaways and even starts having these strange dreams of a girl named Dana, who he eventually meets. It is up to Adol and friends to find out the connection between Adol, Dana, and the island itself while trying to get off it as well. The story is pretty entertaining. While it does start off rather small with just the castaway stuff, it begins to open up more once Dana comes into play, making the adventure feel that much grander and exciting with a nice mixture of comedy and some serious moments. It also helps that while the island is huge, the castaway village is more on the smaller side, giving a more intimate setting, letting you get to know the cast of the characters better. Which is good since, well, the majority of the cast, and I don't mean just the playable characters, are pretty likable, and you don't mind to dive into their personality and backstory during your adventure, as you start to feel like a family. There are two endings to the game, a normal and a true ending, which thankfully is easy to get, and I'll go into detail later on about that. VIII is an action JRPG falling on the faster paced side of things, and boy is it finely tuned. Everything is perfectly responsive, never losing a beat as you're hacking, slashing, jumping, and dodging. Of course, you got some handy techniques to use in your battles, like the flash move, which activates when you dodge just at the right time, and slows your enemy down, letting you weld them for a short period of time. Then you got the flash guard, which again has to do with timing, but instead of slowing down time, it makes all your attacks give off critical damage. If done correctly, you can have both flashes activated at the same time, leading to one hell of a beating. I want to say about halfway through the game, you'll have a full team of 6 characters to choose from to form a 3-man team. You're able to switch between the 3 characters on the fly and field by simply pushing a button. If you want to change up the 3-man team, you can whenever you want, just go to the main menu and that's it. The game really allows you to have as much freedom with the team as you want. It's also a shared experience, so even those on the bench will get some, which is great as it doesn't pigeonhole you to certain characters. You may have noticed the colorful symbols near their name. These symbols represent slash, shoot, and strike, which are pretty important as some enemies are super weak against certain types. I mean, you can still kill them with different symbols, but it takes a little longer. Also, using the correct symbol lets you break enemies, allowing you to cause way more damage. Besides just having weapons to make the characters stand up from one another in combat, you also have skills for each of them. Each skill has its own attributes, with some having better attack strength, better stun strength, or giving the enemy a certain status effect such as burning, and each skill can be leveled up 3 times, making it much deadlier. Thankfully, the game gives you a handy counter of how close you are to leveling up each skill. You can equip 4 skills at a time, and using them is easy as 1, 2, 3. You just gotta be sure you have enough SP, which thankfully is easy to get as you don't need to use some potion for it. You can get it just by killing enemies, or just wait a bit to attack your enemies, and then strike, nabbing even more SP. You gain more skills simply by just fighting, but there are some that can only be learned from a giant monkey, yeah, you heard me right, or some books found on your adventure. Since you constantly keep getting brand new skills, it helps keep the combat from getting stale, since you won't max out everything till near the very end of the game. Your skills are all fine and dandy, but you do have one more powerful weapon in your arsenal, and that's the extra skill. Yeah, not the most creative thing, but it packs a punch. If you notice, the skill circle on the lower right is building up some yellow meter. Once that's full, you can activate it, and not only is it devastating, it's also pretty nice to look at. The game map is freaking huge, and while it's fun to traverse the first time around, it can get a bit tiresome when you have to backtrack a lot, especially when the village calls for help when an interception happens, and when you start to get story-specific accessories that open up new areas to explore, like the ability to climb leaves and double jump. Thankfully, you do get to teleport between crystals you find on the map, making backtracking an ease. Also, while on the field, you can fish. Yeah, you even have some fishing in this game. Just toss your rod in the obvious spot in the water and wait for the nudge. The mechanics are pretty straightforward and fun. Not only can you get regular old fish, you can also get treasure chests or even try revealing a big boss fish, which really tests your skill. You can also find event marks, which are basically very pretty landmarks placed throughout the map. Discovering more of these and just expanding the percent of how much of the map you've explored also nets you some goodies. There's also a night version of some areas, which is activated by sleeping at certain camp spots on the map, which changes up enemy placement for that area, making things a lot more challenging and also spawns some new items to gather. What's also great is no matter where you are, you can save at any time. I love it when games do this. When you're not in the field exploring and fighting, you'd be at your main base, the Castaway Village. While it starts off rather small and limited, the more castaways you find, the more options open up. You can make accessories that help increase your health or even help out leveling up your skills. You can upgrade your weapons and armor. You can make medicine, again different ones by finding new recipes. Same goes for when you cook food, which not only heals you, but gives you some bonus perks. You can grow some crops by giving a kid farmer some seeds, and you can even tailor some clothes, giving your character some new colors. Though I wish there were more than just one different color scheme. There is no cash in this game since, well, you're stranded on an island. So everything's done by using items found while exploring. If you don't have a certain item on you, then you can actually trade some other items to get the one you need. Not only does finding new castaways help out the village, it also helps out with exploration, as some areas are blocked off by giant rocks, and you'll be needing some help clearing it out. The game lets you know the needed amount to do the deed, and even marks it on the map if you forget exactly where it's at. There's also side quests you can do for each of the characters in the village. They do have a time limit and are best done as soon as possible. These are great as they help you get closer to the characters, allowing you to see the personality shine a bit more and find out about their personal life as well, which makes it worth it. And hey, there's even one that lets Adol become a godfather. Thankfully, the quests are usually easy to figure out as the game does mark them on the map, even if it's a yet to be explored area. They mostly range from kill this or get this item, but it doesn't feel too monotonous since it usually leads to some goodies and, like I said, character development. The other point of these quests is to raise your approval rate of each character, which ties into getting the true ending, as you must have a certain amount before beating the game, 200 to be exact. As mentioned before, the true ending is easy to grab, just keep doing the side quests to raise approval. You can also find and make gifts to give to the characters. After raising a character's approval to the max, you unlock a little cutscene where you and they will have a little personal chat. Talking about chat, you may have noticed you're allowed to pick some of Adol's dialogue choices. Don't worry, as these don't affect anything plot wise, and it's just there to see some different reactions of the characters. The last two things you can do in your village is interceptions and suppressions. Just because you're in a nice little village doesn't mean you're safe for long. Monsters are bound to attack. Interceptions have you defending your home turf against waves and waves of monsters, leading up to a boss character. Don't worry, as you got some defenses besides your weapons. You can upgrade barricades to defend your home by increasing its strength, its numbers, and even changing its properties like making meat poison or giving it a chance to shock your enemies. Your friends from the village also lend a hand by giving you stat boosts and even attack the enemies. And the more you increase the character's approval rating, the stronger they are in support. Suppressions are pretty similar, only difference is your goal is to take over spots in an enemy map by lighting torches and destroying hives. You are ranked after each of these, netting you some goodies in the process. Both types are pretty enjoyable and can get more challenging as you go on. If you want to retry any of these for a much higher rank, the game allows you to play them as much as you want. You would think that's it for what the game offers in gameplay, but you would be wrong. Donna herself eventually becomes a playable character both in past and present. Might sound a bit confusing, but without going into deep spoilers, there's crystals that will let you travel back and forth between past Donna and present Donna. Present Donna is just another part of the team participating in the off I've already mentioned. When you're past Donna, she actually gets her own side quest and even plays different from the present Donna. Eventually you get two brand new forms adding to the regular blue one. The blue is more focused on all around play. Green is the brute class, so while it's slower, it does pack more of a punch. And finally, there's a yellow form which, while being the weakest in defense, makes up for it in speed. This is great as it keeps Donna's past parts from becoming dull in combat, as you can switch between these three on the fly. They also come into play when exploring her own personal dungeon called the Sanctuary, which keeps opening up as you raise Donna's virtue by doing her side quests. You can come back to any of the past points whenever you like, and the game even lets you know if you missed any side quests. What's great about this game is it gives you a handy dandy journal. This thing keeps track of everything, making your life much easier. Need a specific item that you can't trade for in the village? It shows what enemy drops it and where you can also harvest it. Want to know the side quests you currently have ongoing? Bam, journal has it. Want to check character bios and their approval rating? Bam, journal has it. Want to see what's your overall collection rate? Bam, journal has it. Thank God they put this in, as it makes what could have been a pain in the ass stress-free and allows you to enjoy your game. The game may not be pushing high level polygons, but that doesn't stop it from looking great. It's bright, colorful, and everything has this nice smooth look to it. Some may think it comes off looking cheap, but I have to disagree. The character designs are also well done, letting everyone have their own distinct look. The castaways could have been just boring looking NPCs, but they put in the extra elbow grease to make them stand out. You would think being on an island that seems to be all forest would get visually boring fast, but you would be wrong. There's plenty of variety on the island that keeps exploration interesting, not to mention it's just overall pretty to look at some of these spots. One of the best aspects of the Ys series is the soundtrack, and Ys VIII does not disappoint one bit.
How exciting.
The English voice actors do a good job of fitting with the characters that are given, and the majority delivery is fine. If you're not a fan of the dub, you can easily switch to Japan voiceovers. One thing I recommend is putting the voice volume up a bit, since the music can drown it out on the default settings.
First you have to find its nest and wait until it returns. I see. As long as we can find its nest, we have a chance.
Looks like we have some hope.
The problem is, where is its nest?
I also must give props for the boss designs in this game, which there are tons of to face off against. It could have just been boring big versions of regular enemies, but nope, each stand out on their own are fun to fight. The frame rate for the most part is fine. I did notice it started to slow down a bit in the village when you started getting more and more people. And combat is really not a common thing, though it does show up when things get really hectic, but nothing game breaking. There is one more issue you might have seen online about localization. Now these are not story or character breaking issues, just some minor things here and there. Nissa does intend to release a patch in November to clean this up, so keep that in mind. Ys VIII was a freaking blast. Be prepared for a fun ride with an amazingly smooth and fun combat system, coupled with an enjoyable cast of characters and an entertaining story. Let's not forget all the content the game holds. I did just about everything and I finished the game after 60 plus hours. There's also New Game Plus, which you can either start off a new game on a harder difficulty carrying pretty much everything over, or start right before the final boss in case you got some cleanup to do, such as taking down the brand new dungeon unlocked by beating the game. You can also unlock a gallery which lets you see all the cutscenes, even the max approval scenes all over again if you want, and some character art as well. There's even a time attack mode letting you face all the bosses again on any difficulty. It may have some slowdowns here and there, but it doesn't stop it from being a fun game full of content. So join Adol and his friends on their mysterious island adventure, because I guarantee it's one you will treasure. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.